Is the AI changes science era finally here? Midjourney, the AI imaging company, just revealed a new piece of hardware that actually benefits all human health.
Midjourney is probably best known for turning text prompts into pictures of astronauts riding horses, regardless of what prompt you gave it, probably. Hey, at least it's predictable. But Midjourney Medical, which they just announced, is not predictable, mainly because it has nothing to do with AI, but also because of what they're planning to do next. They have seriously confounded expectations. Midjourney Medical is a new division within the parent company. Their first product is the Midjourney scanner. It's a full-body ultrasound that uses sound waves and a bath of water, and hopefully a rubber duck, with no radiation or magnets involved. In their announcement, they've claimed that it'll scan you from head to toe in 60 seconds. They actually compare the experience to being surrounded by 500,000 tiny dolphins. Okay, the way it works is you step onto a platform, which then lowers you into the water, and then you pass through a ring of about 500,000 tiny transducers. The dolphins, these are devices that act as both speakers and microphones. Ooh, whoever thought of such a thing? They fire ultrasound at you and listen to what bounces back. And from that, they reconstruct a 3D map of your whole body down to a fraction of a millimetre that looks a lot like today's MRIs, but at nearly 100 times the speed. A full-body MRI normally takes 60 to 90 minutes, but their target is under 60 seconds. But the thing that's confounding people even more than this move in the first place is that they're turning this gadget into kind of a lifestyle brand. They're not selling equipment to hospitals or anything like that, or scanning rooms, surgeries and so on. They're actually putting this into a health spa. The first location is set to open in San Francisco, where else? Union Square at the end of 2027. The announcement is rather ahead of time, I'd say. CEO David Holtz wants 10 scanners in it, and around them there'll be the gym, saunas, cold plunges and hot tub equipped scanning rooms. The framing that they keep coming back to is, and this is a direct quote, as casual as a trip to the spa. And their ambition is pretty big. The stated goal is 50,000 scanners worldwide by 2031. Of course, they can come up with any number at this stage. Whoa, 50,000? 2031? Doing 1 billion scans a month? 1 billion scans a month? Holtz reckons that fewer than a dozen of these machines, running flat out, could do more full-body scans than every MRI machine on Earth combined. Every MRI machine on Earth combined, essentially. So I try not to be cynical about these things, but big numbers anyway. Holtz has admitted that the current system that they're working on is a Gen 1 prototype. So Gen 0.1, it sounds like. The team working on it is about 9 people. So far, how many people have they scanned? About a dozen people. And current scans take around 20 minutes, not 60 seconds, because they're bottlenecked by bandwidth and prototype hardware. To be honest, that's fair enough. It's early stages. They have technical aspirations, which of course, yeah, is the old saying that if it was easy, then everybody would be doing it. But with that said, this story does actually get a lot stranger. The more that I dug into this, the stranger it got. And it's not just about this one company. So stick around as we dig into this further and discover the weirdness.
Please like the video, comment, and subscribe for fascinating science news.
Midjourney, of course, is an AI company. If you'd asked anybody what an AI company would do if it walked into, say, medical imaging, the answer is pretty obvious. Software, AI stuff. The thing people would expect is that they build the AI that reads everyone else's scanners, rather than building a hardware scanner of their own and innovating in that area. But hey, innovation. And that market, the software-based inference of scans after the event, as it were, that market is huge and already proven. It's actually a crowded market. By the end of 2025, the FDA had authorized over 1,400 AI-enabled medical devices. More than 3/4 of them, around 1,100, are in radiology. Within medicine, medical imaging is the single biggest target for AI. So that was the expected move, and it would be the obvious one. But at the same time, I can understand them being a bit reticent from going there because it's a crowded market. How's a company like Midjourney, whose thing is really to create a splash, be the front runners, how would they actually make a splash in such a market that very quickly matured already? By their own admission, there's no AI in the scanner at all. Holtz said so at the launch. I think to people in the audience leaning back and going, Now, you could argue that Midjourney dodged a bullet here. The AI imaging market might be proven, but it's so crowded, and any advancements are going to be incremental. 1,000 narrow tools that each spot one thing in one organ. Yeah, it's hard to make a splash. So rather than competing in a crowded market in software, they've gone ahead and entered a crowded market in hardware instead, because, yeah, it's also a crowded market. The scan healthy people who feel fine just in case market already exists. It's already a few years old. It's well funded, and it has a marketing playbook. Even just in the US, the headline players are Prenuvo and Ezra. Both sell preventative full-body MRIs to people who currently exhibit no symptoms. Prenuvo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Prenuvo charges around $2,500 a scan. They have dozens of locations, and they employ over 100 radiologists. Big company. So Ezra is a bit cheaper and runs through partner imaging centers. And this existing market is already tapped into celebrity endorsement. Kim Kardashian, I mean, who else? Posed, because of course. So Kim Kardashian posed next to a Prenuvo scanner and called it a life-saving machine. It's a lifesaver. And that post got more than 3 million likes. But how many dislikes? Here in the UK, it's the same story, or similar anyway. So Prenuvo opened its first European clinic in London, Fitzrovia, obviously, in November 2025 at £2,499 a scan, and it's pitched directly at the NHS backlog. Yeah, let's face it, if the NHS has got to pay, it's gonna pay. Bottomless pit of money. Where does it all come from? In fact, Ezra is also in the UK. They've gifted a scan to UK celebrities like Holly Willoughby. Same playbook, essentially. But the company that you should actually look at, the one that's the closest thing to Midjourney's whole pitch, and is British-based, is Nico Health. Nico was co-founded by Daniel Ek. Ah, the Spotify one. The Spotify Ek. So Nico opened in London in 2024, and it's now in London, still, Manchester, and Birmingham, with a New York branch set to open this year. Their scans cost £299 and only takes a few minutes, and nearly 80% of people who get scanned apparently rebook and prepay for the next year. So yeah, the more you look into it, the more this market seems to be sewn up, and you can find cheaper and cheaper options. But where is Midjourney's hold my beer unique selling point going to be? But before we even get to that, Nico's co-founder framed their product as, in the UK, you're required to do an MOT on your car. However, when it comes to your body, you often need to break down before seeing a doctor. Through this is the pitch. What Nico are saying is almost word for word with at least the crux of Midjourney's pitch. They talk about the fast scan, the come back every year membership, the deliberately unclinical sci-fi-like pleasant building. One reviewer compared Nico's clinic to the set of Severance. Ooh, 2 videos in a row where we've mentioned Severance. I don't know about that. It's the back rooms. When I hear Severance, that's what I associate that with, not a sci-fi, everything in white and shiny kind of building. More like an Apple store. Midjourney certainly haven't invented this category. They've turned up to a party that's already been going for a couple of years. So in this case, what's actually different? It's a crowded market, but what does Midjourney bring that Nico and Prenuvo don't? Actually, 2 things. There are things. One is the technology. For all the scan speeds and race to the bottom in terms of pricing, all of these companies so far are using MRI. MRI is brilliant, apparently, I'm told, but it's big, slow, expensive, and you have to lie still in a tube for the better part of an hour. I'd be right if I could listen to an audiobook or something, but still, Midjourney's bet is on a much cheaper way of capturing the image using sound waves rather than giant magnets, which, if it works, is what unlocks the 60-second scan and the near zero cost per scan. And then 2, the packaging and the scale. Prenuvo and Nico still basically present as premium medical services. Midjourney is going much harder into the kind of this is leisure, the spa, the gym, the golden light, and aiming at a 50,000 machine consumer fleet rather than a few dozen clinics. So definitely approaching it differently. It's the same product category, but redone as a lifestyle brand. Yeah, I mentioned the Apple store, and so you can see what they're doing. On the surface, it's the Apple move. Apple didn't invent the MP3 player, for example, or the smartphone. Instead, they turned up late to a proven but clunky market with a beautifully finished product and a total rethink of the experience, and just ate everyone's lunch. They did have also the benefit of Steve Jobs and his reality distortion field, just fandom. But the whole strategy in any case is to enter late and out-execute on design and UX. So on those terms, the comparison holds. The late entry into an established category, check. The deliberate aesthetic reset, refusing the clinical look, very Apple. Owning the whole stack, the device, venue and software, that's the Apple Store model, and it's exactly how Prenuvo already operates. But Apple almost never bet on unproven technology. The iPhone used components that already worked, like touchscreens, ARM chips, flash storage. What Apple was good at was integration, the less is more approach. And crucially, when he bought an iPhone, it worked that day out of the box. It just worked, and arguably it was intuitive. I say arguably. Midjourney is actually doing the opposite. They're betting on a novel imaging method at prototype stage with a 9-person team that doesn't open to the public for over a year. Fair, they're busy innovating in the background, but the polish right now is in the renders and the marketing pitch, not in a thing that you can actually use. It's not a finished Gen 1 product. You could say it's closer to a concept car reveal.
Why all this negativity?
And skepticism. This whole thing about scanning healthy people. There are 2 big reasons to be skeptical. The first one isn't about Midjourney specifically. It actually hangs over this whole industry. Is scanning healthy people who feel completely fine actually good for them? The medical establishment is, to put it mildly, not convinced. The worry is overdiagnosis. If you're scanning a low-risk, symptom-free person, you find something, and most of the time that something is harmless. But now you've got anxiety, follow-up tests, biopsies, costs, and risks from the procedures themselves. Like a quick visit to WebMD in the old days, and all of a sudden everyone's a hypochondriac. The president of the American College of Preventative Medicine, Dr. Mirza Rahman, has been noodling around. He put the core problem like this. Companies argue that more screening is better, but that's not necessarily true, he said. When you scan a whole body, he says, of course you will find disease, but much of what you find are just variants of normal that create unnecessary anxiety. And then there's the line that's hard to unhear on who actually benefits from these scans. Rahman said that the greatest beneficiaries are the people who own the scanners and promote the scans because they collect the fees for doing them. And notice, Midjourney walks into this critique more exposed than the others, not less, because they have no clinical track record, no radiologists, and the whole thing is wrapped up with this wellness spa that leans even harder into the lifestyle product. This is the framing that critics are objecting to in the first place. And then skepticism part 2, the second reason for skepticism, is more interesting because it's the bit that people are getting wrong on both sides. Midjourney is not inventing imaging by ultrasound. Ultrasound tomography, surrounding the tissue with a ring of transducers in water and measuring how sound passes through it, is decades old. It's real, it's scientifically sound, and it's already FDA approved and in clinics. There are 2 cleared products doing exactly this. Delphinus SoftView got full FDA pre-market approval back in 2021, and QT Imaging's scanner is approved too. It's so established that it just got its own medical billing code back in February this year. So the physics works. Good news for Midjourney, except that every single one of those approved systems is all about breast cancer screening. So they focus on the one body part, not the whole body. You'd wonder why they've all gone straight for that type of cancer screening. It's because the breast is the easy case. It's fairly uniform with no bone in the way and no air-filled lungs or bowel to scatter the sound, and that's ultrasound's fundamental limitation. It can't get through bone or gas. So that's why your ultrasound experience tends to be like babies and soft tissue, just never imaging through the skull or the rib cage. A whole body scan has to deal with all of it. Your ribs, your spine, your pelvis, the air in your lungs and your gut. Those are exactly the things that defeat ultrasound. So in other words, Midjourney have got some serious problems to solve there, and it is arguable about whether they're actually going to be able to solve them. Will actual physics prevent them? It's the central unsolved problem in the whole field, and why this technology has been around for decades, but nobody has yet done what Midjourney are now setting out to do. Midjourney is proposing a 500,000 elements ring imaging your whole body. It's the dolphins at MRI quality from a 9-person team at prototype stage. But so far, 20 plus years and a Nobel tier engineering effort haven't managed to do this. Midjourney wants the rest of the human body, and it wants it by, if they're starting next year, then by the end of next year. So good luck with that. I didn't really want to end on a particularly cynical note with this, because I think it's brave what they're setting out to do, and especially to make an announcement now. Is this a pitch for investors? I guess we'll see. see. So far it seems to resemble like a Kickstarter project, where the project is put up there. Currently there's no track record for that particular team, so either they'll surprise us all and launch with something that genuinely redefines the field, and to be honest will go way beyond the scope of just spas and gyms and regularly monitoring muscle mass at the end of each day in the gym, which would be pretty amazing in its own right. But this technology, if they get it right, will go way beyond all of that. It could redefine the entire disease prevention industry. Let's face it, it is an industry, for better or worse. That's about it. So thanks so much for watching, especially for watching this far, for this long. Do let me know in the comments what you think about all this. Is it already sounding like snake oil, or is this actually a brave attempt to essentially make the world a better place? What else can you expect from a California startup? So catch you next time. Bye!
電子の海へと取り込め進化の先へ未来はすぐそこにマフトピアクリプト